When you love the world loves you back. I saw it and I wanted it. So I tried on 5 to 6 pairs until I got that tight fit. I heard them and I liked them. Man, I treated these artists like they were my own precious gems. I met him and I loved him. So I gave up my light, looked around, and everything else seemed so dim. When you love the world loves you back. It's like it was made for me. I swear I'd walk down those streets hearing nothing but "Hey cutie." It's like they knew what I wanted to hear. My conscience would tell me no, but those songs would tell me the coast is clear. It's like he knew how I needed to feel. And to be honest, that just ended up increasing his sex appeal. Because when you love the world loves you back. What am I saying? When you make yourself available to worldly things, you end up trapped like a bird with no wings. What am I saying? If I could drink it, I'd sip it. If I could pop it, I'd down it. If I could do 'em, I'd screw 'em. When I could shake it, I'd break it. If you had known me, you'd disown me. But my father, yeah, he loved me, so he showed me how to be holy. When you love the world loves you back. But you see, I never really knew this, which is why I got hit with those sneak attacks. Bible says to be in the world, but not of it. Not a lot, not a little, not even a bit. Because when you do, the affection, the devotion, the love that you receive will be built off of nothing but the enemy's deceit. True love comes from our Father who art in heaven. You want to feel it? All it takes is one simple confession. One simple confession of your disappointing yet expected transgressions, brought on by, yes, the enemy's aggression, but ultimately your toxic worldly obsessions. I'm trying to teach you a lesson. Everyone expects love to last forever. But the Bible says this world will pass away, which means worldly love isn't here to stay. God's love, however, God's love was meant to last forever.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that poetry session, and it's an introduction to today's topic. We were trying to focus on the aspect of conformity, and conformity in the sense of where people are under pressure, or we as individuals are under pressure to conform to a certain standard, to a certain way of living, which is necessarily not the right way to live. And if you listened keenly to the poetry session, it was trying to speak of the aspect of being conformed to the standards of this flesh. Now, when I talk about this flesh, I'm talking about the appetites and desires that this flesh wants. They are natural desires that every human being has. But if you don't subject your flesh to self-control, they will control you. And it's interesting because not everything that your flesh desires is good for you, actually. And it's interesting that we are living in a generation where there's constant pressure to conform to a certain way of living, which is always centered upon pleasing yourself or pleasing this flesh. That is why you find that even in ads that are being put on social media, they're always focused on gratification of the flesh, which is more or less temporary and doesn't give you or doesn't add value to you as a person. So today's topic is food for thought, in the sense that we want you to look at your life in the aspect of, are you living a life that has standards, that has morals which are geared to add value to your life? Or are you conforming to everything that is put on your plate or that is presented to you? We live in an era where social media projects a lot of things on a daily, in a daily manner. And if you're not careful, there are things that they put out there that cause people to conform to a certain way of living. They put ads of people drinking carelessly, or they put ads where they try to put up a show that pleasure, in the sense of sensual pleasure, is good and is let's say sugar coated in some sense, to cause people to feel like what they are doing is not bad, but in essence it is just a conformity into a standard that is not necessarily good for you as a person, which also brings up the aspect of, do you have a standard that you live up to? Is there a moral code that you have? Because if you don't have one, then you will be blown by every wind of doctrine, by every wind of ad. And when you look at it, we live in a generation where people are like, you can have it all. And as we've said, it's focused on gratification of self and the flesh. I put it in the words of the wisest man that says that, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? And the essence of that statement is that not everything that is put out there, not everything that is put on your plate is good for you. Not everything that is geared to satisfy you or to give you gratification for the moment is good for you. And sometimes this scenario is actually fueled by the fear of not being in line with either friends, or feeling out of place in the sense that you feel like a misfit because you don't do what either your friends ascribe to or society ascribes to. And it's interesting because there are many people who have fallen prey to that trap, that we do it just because other people do it, or other people are doing it, so it doesn't make it feel wrong, or it doesn't make it wrong just because other people did it and they did not encounter any consequences. And it's a trap because you're actually walking on thin ice, because not everything that is out there you're supposed to do. In the essence of, if you see your friends or you see your peers engaging in a certain activity, it doesn't mean that you should do the same just in the name of fitting in with them. If they're in wild parties, if they're drinking, or if they're in fornication, or if they're doing something that is not morally right, and your conscience tells you that this thing is wrong, and you go ahead and do it, you're actually falling into the trap of what we call as conformity. And in essence, people think that because other people are doing it, it must be good or is acceptable. And it brings us back to the question of, what moral code guides you? Do you have a moral code in the first place? Like for me personally, my moral code is guided by the Logos, that is Christ-centered direction and Christ-centered instructions concerning life. In simple terms, the Bible. That is for me. Now, the reason why I ascribe to the Logos way of living, or the Logos Christ-like centered moral standard, is because I have the understanding that on my own, I cannot be able to overcome gratifications of the flesh, because in essence, human beings have been flawed because of sin. Now, there's a lot of backdrop or background information concerning that topic, which is a huge topic I won't delve into, but in essence, every human being is prone to sin. And there is a deception of self-will in the sense that you see a certain scenario and are like, yeah, I can handle that. You see something that you know yourself was is a recurrent temptation in terms of you fell into it. Last time you saw your friends out in a party and they told you we are going out to drink. Would you want to come? And you said, I don't drink, but I can go out with them. You're setting yourself up because you are creating a scenario of I can handle it, which is sometimes a trap because you're actually putting yourself in a scenario where your moral code can be broken. You know very well that being in secluded places with the opposite sex is it can be a temptation for some, and for some they actually know that that can be a very big temptation, but they say they can handle it. A good story is the story of Joseph, where he was in a similar scenario where he was in a secluded place with somebody else's wife, and instead of saying I can handle it, he decided to run off, which was a good thing because there are certain situations and there are certain temptations where you just go, you have to get out of there. You have to remove yourself from that scenario, which brings up the aspect of progressive conformity leads to distraction in the long run. As we have spoken about, the essence of trying to say you can handle it is walking on thin ice, is because you might go through or you might overcome the first temptation because you are in that scenario, but continual engagement in terms of putting yourself in situations or scenarios that can cause you to fall is actually heightening the degree to which you can fall into a certain situation, into a certain habit. That is how addicts became addicts. Not everyone that drinks or is a drunkard started out saying that I want to drink until I become a drunkard, or somebody who is immoral didn't say that I want to do this until I am immoral. It started out as a one event, like let me just do this as a one shot, let me do this as a one-time thing, but constantly doing that brings progression towards distraction. That is why you find somebody started out by saying, I'll just take a sip with my friends or a sip of a drink, that will be all. But it started up with a sip. The next weekend it went into one glass. The next weekend it went to a bottle. And you find that repetitive or progressive conformity led to that person either becoming a drunkard or being addicted to a certain behavior that doesn't add value, but it now controls them, and he or she becomes a slave to it. I hope this video gave you insights in terms of how to forge forward in terms of life, in terms of decisions, in terms of how you handle situations. And we want you to know that you don't have to handle it on your own. You can have a moral code that guides you, as well the help of the divine. So I hope this video give you insights. If you want more in terms of guidance, in terms of morals, in terms of a connection with the divine, feel free to comment in the comment section and we'll get right back to you. Make sure to give us a like and share this video with somebody so that we can be able to reach this generation in an effective manner. And I hope to see you in the next one.